I want to make sure that we get to one of the, exciting and important aspects of this, global supply chain conversation, because we talked a lot about how Amazon has the ability to be very flexible, right? And it has a lot of ability to, reshuffle its deck, to have workers' schedules change, very quickly, which makes it very difficult to organize. It makes it very difficult to live. But in the piece, Charmaine, you also, note that when you have these large webs, you also have these things called choke points, which are an opportunity for organizing. Could you sort of define that and say why that could be useful for labor organizing in the future?
Yeah, choke points are a historical concept that comes out of maritime bottlenecks. So the Strait of Hormuz or the Strait of Aden, for example, as spaces geologically where massive flows of capital are constrained into a tight bottleneck, as we saw with the Ever Given being stuck in the Suez Canal, right? So I think they mean a material, literal, point of concentration where a lot of capital flows. And I think within the Amazonians United Network, it's less clear. I mean, there's no like one Suez Canal through which all Amazon goods flow, but there are certainly things like regional hubs. And I think for thinking about Amazon in particular, the kind of regional strategy around which, Amazon has to serve a metro area, right? It can't reroute around LA in general. So if you think about the kind of concentric circles of warehouses that are situated in and around and meant to serve the LA metro region or the Chicago metro region, that's a choke point. It's not an easy choke point. Like you can't just drive a ship into the middle of it and everything stops, right? But it does, I think, give us ways to think about how focusing on regional strategies rather than, let's say, workers organizing at paths sort of along the way that may be less strategic allows us to think about, okay, what does it look like, right? To focus on the Chicago area and really build a stronghold there and use that as a test case for building out other sort of regional strongholds, as I think AU Chicagoland is really setting a great example for.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely worth noting, just to think strategically about how we can use these things. I know a lot of people on the left and also people, who sometimes write for Jacobin, always talk about, oh, how if we just shut down, this facility, then, it will be a grand moment. But you have to understand that our opponents have a lot of flexibility. They can do a lot of things, and, we can want things to happen, but we also have to understand what is, what the end result of these things will be.
Yeah, and I also think that there's sometimes a kind of romanticization of the choke point. Like we'll just find the one place where all the secrets are happening, right? And one clear
The one
lesson
chink in
from
the armor, yeah.
It's like the
the
Death
one
Star.
chink in the armor, yeah, exactly, like the 1 2 meter point where your X-wing goes. But I think the important thing to remember is that there are just no shortcuts to organizing. It requires a strategy that like relies on building the kinds of slow forms of community that Ted's talking about, and that takes time, right? It takes more time than getting an X-wing fighter to hit the 1 point.
Yeah, and I'll add, there are, I've been approached by folks that are like, hey, where's the most strategic place? I want to get a job and join the fight. And it's like, where should I go? And it's like, I think Charmaine called it like the romanticization by, lefties or other folks. And I think I agree with that analysis. I think the idea, are we all getting, is everyone going to try to get a job as a ship captain and find shipping routes that go through canals? Like, is that, you know what I mean? Like, is that really what this, like, is that the goal? Or, what I frequently suggest, friends that are looking for jobs, anyone else that's, yeah, I want to organize at Amazon too. Okay, great, get a job. But what matters more than where's that choke point, where's the one warehouse in your entire area that, is the biggest bottleneck, which as big as Amazon is, it's unlikely there are single bottlenecks in any region. I think what's more important is simply recognizing the human, community, and sustainability element, which is it's better simply to just get a job at the warehouse that you can most conveniently commute to, around where you have community relationships, where you have relationships with organizations, where you're going to church, where you're, where you have, whatever community organization nearby, where you have relationships, you have sustainability, you have a way to build lasting organization with people in that neighborhood, with people that, you yourself can sustain it. If you need to drive 2 hours to get to the most strategic warehouse and you burn out in 6 months, what benefit is that to anyone? And so I think more important than the theoretical kind of romanticized, let's find the most strategic choke points that can really stick. It's more, where can we sustainably build long-lasting organization and community? And I think for that, it's more like what's closest to where you live, where do you have existing relationships and community, and can kind of bring that in. And especially where we are now with how unorganized, or at this early point of organizing at Amazon, I think it's better to get something started that lasts than to go for the most whatever theoretically strategic thing and then have nothing happen and then dissipate, and then we're 10 years closer to extinction from climate destruction or something. You know what I mean? So like, do something, like take action and do something, but do it in a sustainable way. Like, be practical. Don't be romantically theoretical about your academic analysis of work. I love academics, nothing against you. I've just
it's chill, bro.
No, I think that's exactly it. And building community and being sustainable, I think, is the right way to think about it. I've been trying to remind folks, I'm not one of these people who thinks we have to wait 200 years to get to the next step. But I am somebody who's always reminded people that historically, the position that we're in, it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take time. It's going to take organizing and things like that. And they're really, if anyone is selling you something that's quick and easy, you probably shouldn't be listening to them, because it's going to, this is going to be a long fight, and we need each other also to get through it as well. Thank you so much, Ted, for taking the time. Thank you so much, Charmaine, as well. I really enjoyed this conversation. I hope to be able to do something again in the future.
Thanks, David. Thanks, Matt. It's been such a pleasure to talk to you all.